Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I know the sound of my voice might be a shock to some of you returning, but I figured what better time to finally talk about my bullet journal than my 2020 flip through. As you can see, I needed 2 journals this year. I stuck with Archer and Olive, the Blackout notebook, and the Traveler's notebook. This year was really a year for me to just try out bullet journaling, see what worked, see what didn't, and both of these journals really tested my limits as to what type of spreads I could do and what type of themes I could create. But let's get started with the first journal I started with this year, which was the Blackout Journal. This was really a test of my creativity. I stuck with metallic inks and just kept a lot of it simple. My setup this year was based on the Pantone color of the year, which was blue. As you can see, my key and my grid were one of the first spreads I did. And going forward, I never really stuck with the key. It's something I don't think I'll do going forward. But most of my spreads were really kind of your standard setup spreads, like your at a glance and future log. And a lot of it had to be done with the white ink. And as you can see, once the pandemic hit, my journaling really took a hit. I didn't fill out a lot of my future log later in the year. And we'll see in future setups that, yeah, just with everything going on, it was really hard for me to keep going, but a lot of my goals, some were met, some were not. I was really proud that I met a lot of my financial goals, but in terms of my creative goals, I really didn't meet a lot of those. And as you can see, a lot of the movies that I wanted to watch this year because of everything going on, that really didn't happen. It's really transitioned into a year of watching Netflix movies, Netflix shows, that type of thing. But even throughout the year when I was watching a lot more things, I didn't really keep track. And of course, the places that we went, that just didn't happen. This spread I liked a lot, planning out my year. Some of them I did stick to, some of them I didn't, but obviously I filled up this journal pretty quickly, so I only got about 7 months in. And here we come to my first month, which was January. I love this theme. I thought it was really unique. I hadn't seen it. It revolved around time and clocks, it being the first month. And I used stamps, but you can see a lot of the ink, I didn't let it dry properly, so you'll see a lot of that throughout the Blackout Journal. A lot of smudges. I loved my mood tracker. I tried to make it look like a clock, and I kept pretty up with my habit tracker. The first 2 months of the year, I really stuck with my bullet journal. I used it to the fullest extent and filled in a lot of the spreads, kept track of a lot of things, and utilized my weekly layout. So you'll see throughout the journal that as the pandemic wore on and things just in my life got busier, my bullet journaling definitely was less used, but these weekly spreads are almost completely filled out, mostly with just things that I was doing in my personal life since I had separate journals for work, but some spreads didn't get filled at all. It was, like I said, trial and error, but I like the layout of this weekly spread. It was the diagonal layout. I don't think I've done this yet, or since this weekly layout. A lot of my spreads kind of stayed within the realm of like the quadrants or that type of thing. But as we go into January, this is my first doodle heavy spread, the floral theme with the purple, using the jelly rolls, the white and the purple. As being left-handed, it was really hard for me not to smear things, but here my trackers were filled out, and this month, instead of doing one habit, I wanted to do a new no spend month, where I didn't spend any money on frivolous things. Really to try, and that was like a goal this year overall, was to really get my finances in order. Here you can see, as opposed to last month, my brain dump pretty much stayed empty. I tried doing playlists, and because of the blackout, I had to utilize craft paper so that I could just at least use black ink and regular pens somewhat, because my white gel rolls were really running out. But this was also the month where Amanda Rach Lee, who basically inspired me to bullet journal, took her break, and because of that I did a little ode to her. So I recreated each one of her spreads up until January of this year. I did one every day, and I do have a video on my YouTube channel of me recreating all those spreads, but as you can see, I even recreated some of her spreads in my own journal. But yeah, this was really fun. It was hard because of the blackout pages, the black paper, trying to recreate some of her spreads on black paper. I had to get pretty creative, but I think it turned out really well. She even gave me a shout out. It was amazing, but I really liked how this dedication to her turned out. I tried to do some how-to tutorials, but instead of filming, I pretty much, didn't really post this video. Maybe I will one day if anyone really wants to know how to doodle these simple flowers. But we're getting towards the end of February, and you can see I kind of switched toward event-based layouts with to-do lists. Going into March, I had this idea to use a white stamp to get the white background of the palm leaves, but as you can see, it left residue, so I had to put extra paper in there to keep it from heavily smudging. Lesson learned. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I would just either use white gel pen or just leave the white out altogether. But this is obviously a theme inspired by Amanda Rach Lee. But using my Moonlight Jelly Rolls, I really liked how the teal, the white, and the lime green turned out. And as you can obviously see, come mid-March, when everything went into lockdown, lives just kind of got put on hold. So did my bullet journal. I tried to keep up with it in the early onset of the lockdown, but at the same time, I was switching jobs. I was just trying to stay motivated any way possible. But a lot of these spreads, you'll see they're blank, but at least you can see some of how I laid out my weeklies and other things. I started making my weekly spreads a lot more minimal, just basic to-do lists instead of a rundown of everything I was doing every day, just because I no longer had anything to do. And of course, the stay safe. Moving into April, my dragonfly, I like this one, again using the Moonlight Jelly Rolls. I kind of stuck with some of my basic layouts, my calendar. Doing the calendar that small I'll never do again because I really couldn't fit anything in there. After a while, I just stopped tracking my mood. My habits fell to the wayside, and I kept up with my weekly spreads, but really going to my bullet journal just kind of wasn't a habit anymore. In April, I did quit a job that I was at to start a new one. So I was busy with the new job and everything and getting onboarded. So any personal journal keeping, it just wasn't there. I had to combine a lot of things just because I wasn't doing weekly spreads. And again, I just wasn't doing anything outside of work or outside the home. But May was a theme I really liked. Again, another inspiration from Amanda Rach Lee. I did try some new things with my calendar layouts. I did this one for both personal and work, but because I had a work journal, I really didn't transfer anything work-wise into my bullet journal. And you can see again, this was another instance where I just did not keep track of my mood or my habits. But it was just a different way for me to lay out those trackers. And then in terms of lists, even though I was watching a lot and reading a lot, I didn't think to really track it. But one thing I did this month was a washi wall. I have so much washi tape and I was really trying to find a way to showcase it. And you'll see these in future months, but I started just doing little displays of all the washi tape I have, and these ones were all ocean themed. This weekly layout is one that I actually have not done since this week. I might have to incorporate it into some of my 2021 spreads, but you can see I have the events on the left and just small boxes for each day of the week. And then again, they're completely blank because I just had nothing going on. I wasn't doing anything, and I was working so much that I didn't really have time outside of laying out my weekly spreads to really fill in anything or work on anything. But as we move into June, this is another kind of unique theme, I think. Along with the clocks, it's gears, and instead of stamps, I use stencils. My doodling isn't the best. I am working on it. I've been practicing on it, but this whole theme, all the gears were from a stencil that I had, and the silver and gold, two of the best colors that work on the black paper for sure. I tried to, again, no mood or trackers done in this month either. I tried to fill out the weeklies a bit more, but of course it's Pride Month, so I wanted to do a little spread for that, and that's using some of the washi tape I had, so I did love that page. And this is my first Dutch door. I always wanted to do one, and I guess I chose a time in my life where I didn't have much going on outside of work to do one, but I thought it looked great. I thought it turned out great, and hopefully I can incorporate more Dutch doors in future bullet journals. But again, this month, you'll see it's very minimal. A couple holidays, a couple just weekend camping trips listed. But that's about it in terms of what I filled in with the bullet journal. You can see my sponges, of course, being the lefty. You can see a lot of instances where I didn't quite let the gel dry. If you do a blackout journal in the future, I would recommend definitely making sure the gel's dry before going to the next page. But as we finish June, July is my final month in this journal, and another Amanda Rach Lee inspired one with the purple crystals. This was a time where I kind of did my own font. I really liked kind of what I came up with. I tried to fill in more of this one, but my trackers again kind of went unfilled in. I didn't really pay attention to them. Same with my lists and my brain dumps. Again, even though I was watching things and I was doing things, I just never went to my journal to fill it in. This is a weekly layout that I do often, kind of the 4x4 with the doodles in the corners. I do love it. Same with this one, kind of the horizontal layout of the weekly. They're very useful. They're easy to do. I did take a road trip to Michigan, but again, I didn't even fill out anything for it. And then towards the end, I just kind of started doing, again, the events and to-do checklist. But this is the final month in the Blackout Journal. I will say I had fun in the Blackout Journal, but I don't think I'll use one again. I think I'll kind of just stick to the normal white paper and maybe kind of rip out some black paper and use it in some of my themes. So that's kind of why I went to the Traveler's Journal. It's not your A5 or B5, it is much smaller. I thought because I wasn't using the journal that much that maybe a smaller journal would come in handy, but I might make note of this again at the end that the Traveler's Journal, because of its size, does limit kind of what type of spreads you can do in terms of your weekly spreads. But I liked it. I liked the compactness of it. Again, the white paper, I was able to do, I feel, more things. And it was nice to use black ink again, especially for lists and stuff. But as you can see, I definitely filled this one out a lot more. I really tried hard to be more intentional with using my bullet journal on a more regular basis, filling it in. Some of my goals transferred over, some of my to-sees I kind of rearranged to accommodate what was happening in the world and not being able to go to movies or anything like that. But yeah, and this journal also incorporated more photos. Of course, my dog, the one trip we took, the road trip to Michigan, and because we were home, we decided to do a little redo of our living room. So I do have more photos in this journal, which I did like. And some of my ideas you can see for future spreads, just jotting down ideas more, seeing what I can do for 2021 and the rest of 2020. And I also started doing more macro photography, which is a big hobby of mine, and incorporating that into each month. But August had a colorful floral theme, very summery, and because of the size of the journal, everything just got kind of shrunk down a little bit more, less space to do things. As you can see, I couldn't do a whole month of moods, but my habit tracker fully filled out. I was very proud of this, keeping track of it. It just looks good when it's filled out. Again, more trips up to the mountains, so I did an actual packing list, a brain dump for an ode that I did to a favorite show of mine, and just really kind of at least trying to attempt to fill in the spreads that I created. And you can see another washi tape wall. Just all over Pinterest, you can find different ways to showcase your washi tape, which is a fun way to use up all the different kinds that you have. This month, I tried to at least use the weeklies a lot more. As you can see, I had a month in photos, just up in the mountains, of course, my pets laying around, a lot of what I was doing during the lockdown. But because of the small pages, I could only incorporate just a few pictures. And then moving on to the next month, which was September. I've always wanted to do a cactus theme. This incorporates the Archer and Olive acrylograph pens, which allow layering. I loved it. I loved the colors. It was just a lot of fun to do these. My habit tracker. Again, I moved from a mood tracker to a productivity tracker for the first time. Just kind of marking my productivity. I thought it was better than my mood, since my mood pretty much stays the same all the time, just 1 or 2 bad days throughout the month. So I thought maybe monitoring my productivity would be a better fit for me. And again, really doing my habit trackers. One tracker I didn't do at all is art. I wanted to do more art this year, but that just has not happened. And again, watching and reading and just making lists of things that I do throughout the month was really fun. I've gotten really into stickers, so just finding a way to showcase those is another thing that I wanted to do in my journal. And then here is, again, one of my most common weekly layouts is the 4x4 spread. I used a little bit of watercolor for the first time on the bottom. And then this is another one that I used a lot. I just think it utilizes the space the best, especially in the traveler's notebook. And you get to doodle a bit. In this case, I had a big oops. I made it upside down. I don't know really what I was thinking, but in this case, I just did the floating boxes with the washi tape that fit within the theme of my month. But yeah, upside down, what can you do? This one, I had some stickers I really wanted to use, but the colors were different, so this kind of strays from my theme a little bit in terms of the colors, but cactus theme remains. That was a little practice page for Goodbye September before I moved into October, which very common pumpkins, but I love doodling them. They're really simple. I'm still kind of working on my doodling and my art, but as you can see, they were easy to incorporate throughout the month. I tried to stick with productivity again, but kind of fell off. Same with my habits. I stuck with them a little bit more. But it was nice to see that my brain dump and my ideas got utilized a little bit more. And of course, my fall photos, that sunset right outside my house, it was great, beautiful, up in the mountains of Colorado for the fall leaves, which I loved seeing. But yeah, October was a good month. Things were kind of starting to slow down work-wise, so I was able to have more fun in my personal life. And here, just a couple different layouts for my week, but still seeing the pumpkins, the fall colors. This month really it was clean. I liked how it looked. I had some different things for my weekly layouts, and I really liked it, especially this type of layout when things aren't as busy as they are. The events and to-do lists really come in handy, so I would recommend this if you're not that busy. Little blank page, Goodbye September. That was the one I ended up using, as you can see, 2 full pages. But going into November is my Day of the Dead theme. I'm a big fan of Coco. My birthday is the Day of the Dead, so I figured why not finally do a spread that features this holiday. The colors are amazing, the sugar skulls, everything about it, I just love it. I love the history of it, the traditions. It's just so great. The flags, I try to incorporate that into the calendar this year. The marigolds, of course, the bright colors of them, they just look really good. This month overall just turned out great. Finding a lot of things online, like washi tapes, the flags. Here's washi tapes that I just had that I wanted to showcase, not necessarily Day of the Dead washi tapes, but I saw this on Pinterest and had to recreate. A lot of Spanish language songs that I love listening to. And of course, I did take a trip to San Francisco in November for work, so just a little picture from there. And my weekly layouts, very colorful, incorporated a lot of sugar skulls, a lot of marigolds, a lot of pattern and design. And November was also a big month for the election. Since Colorado is a vote by mail state, I don't get a sticker, so I just made a little spread for myself. And here's my Day of the Dead washi tape. And I was able to find some Day of the Dead craft paper. And then the final layout for November. Moving on to December, my last month of 2020. The blue hues I really like because it's still kind of wintry, feels like snow, but all the different tree doodles. Once I got to about the 12th, 13th tree, I just kind of was hard for me to come up with design. So moving forward, I stuck with just like 7, 8 trees on a page. I have been keeping up with my mood and habit trackers this month, but we're still a couple weeks away from the end of it, so hopefully I stick with it. But we still have a couple more to fill out. I didn't put a photo of the month page, but I had to showcase my handsome dog, our Christmas photo this year, and our Christmas lights, so I just stuck them on here. Since I didn't have a dedicated page for photos, I couldn't resist. He's just too cute, as you can see. There he is. But one thing I did try this month was planning future layouts of spreads. I think I'm going to incorporate that more in 2021, dedicating a whole page to just the layout of future spreads so that I'm not kind of thinking about it once I get to the week. I want to be more mindful of what I do each month. And instead of mood trackers, I might do mood boards, but playlists, this is kind of my holiday playlist. I might share those more and do less to-do lists because, as you can see, I don't fill them out. Here's another 4x4 weekly spread. I think I do this almost every month just because it's so easy, and in this size journal it just fits the best. Same with this layout as well. But I had some washi tape that I wanted to use and the floating boxes. There's really kind of 4 or 5 spreads that I really use for the Traveler's Journal. Here's another events and to-do spread using some holiday craft paper. But it just kind of fits when you're really not that busy with the holidays. Pretty much other than last minute gifts and family stuff, don't have much to do. But yeah, so here you are. This is my final spread of the year, which will be filled out next week. But this is my 2020 bullet journal flip through. Thank you for joining me this year. I've had a lot of fun. To those who have been with me this whole time, thank you again. And I look forward to 2021. Have a safe holiday season, and I will see you all next year.